On this episode, we beat a dead horse to death until it dies.
That's not very nice, dude. That's animal cruelty. Mm-hmm. Negative honor.
I got a reputation for that these days, brother. Welcome to Save Every Universe. My name is Alec Garcia. I am a pilot who must stop Creel during the Red Mercury War. If I succeed, I may just get a hat commemorating my achievement. You're not getting this one. No way.
Red Mercury War. That sounds really familiar.
Mm-hmm. You'll know it when I say it, but I don't think you'll get it off the top of your head.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I won't even guess. Okay.
Good.
So I don't get another lecture from our producer. My name is Robbie.
Zing!
I'm a talented racer with a shiny helmet racing through the future. Show me your moves.
Oh, that's a good one. Nice. Yeah. Nice. Who were you last week?
I was Leonardo from Turtles in Time.
Da Vinci. Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Dang.
I'll be honest. I was taking a shower.
Yeah.
And we have Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
And it was that morning.
Like a shower curtain, Ninja Turtles shower curtain or something.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I was like, Leonardo's my favorite one. And I was like, I should do Turtles in Time. They have like a new arcade. It's not Turtles in Time, but they have a new arcade that's like the old one, but it's with the new animation.
Okay.
Peter Piper Pizza.
Yeah.
And I've played it with the kids several times.
Yeah, we've talked about that game quite a bit on the show, about like the 4-person beat 'em up with the 4 sticks on
Dude,
Turtles in Time and The Simpsons and the X-Men. They were all basically the same game, but they were super fun arcade
I loved
games.
them.
Yeah. And last time I was the protagonist from Far Cry New Dawn. That was a lob. That was a gimme.
Not for everyone else, maybe.
And I think it was out by then, so you can't judge me for being a character that hadn't come out.
Not at the time you said it, but I think at the
it was
time
about
that
to come
the
out
episode came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah. So today we are talking about industry-ish thing. What do you have you on the docket?
Obviously, we're business tycoons, real big minds.
Yeah.
We're storming Wall Street. That should have been our opening. On this episode,
we storm Wall Street.
Yeah. We're saying sell. What was that show on?
The Jim Cramer or whatever. He has like all the different buttons. Buy, sell,
stuff.
He's got. That's what we need on this show. Is like a bunch of buttons that make.
That's
sound
what we're
effects.
missing, dude. We'll really blossom into our own.
Yeah, I've been saying that actually since like our 3rd episode. We need to find out how to set up a mixing board that allows us to do. We need like cough buttons and like all the radio fanciness.
To be like the douche on Parks and Rec.
The douche. Yeah.
Dude, they have a dedicated radio guy.
Yeah.
Tony doesn't normally sit in here with us. We may have to make him sit in here with us.
We need an audio engineer to come.
We need to make more money so we can make a very
Patreon.com/Save Every Universe if you'd like to support us financially, and we'll up our production game.
Yeah, we'll put a soundboard in. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about today. So today, this was actually one of my coworkers had this idea. He mentioned there's been some news about GameStop in trouble. They had a big investor meeting. They sold off some assets trying to like stay afloat.
Right.
And then they tried to see if anybody would buy the company.
Yeah.
And nobody would take them on. And I guess it was because of their long-term debt versus their recent dip in sales over the holiday.
Right.
Like nobody was willing to take on that ratio.
Yeah.
So when that news broke, their stock dove 25%.
Mm-hmm.
And so it gave me the thought just of if tomorrow, if GameStop just disappeared.
Yes.
What would it look like? Like, what would gaming... Would anything change?
Yeah.
Or would it not?
And
would you care?
We were confirming our topic for today's show, and I rephrased it as, if a GameStop dies in the woods, do any bears give a shit? And that's kind of like, would it impact the industry at all? Would it impact, like, gamers at all?
I think you and I have very opposing views on this.
Yeah.
Because you... Not just because I like GameStop, because I do, but you hate GameStop.
Yeah, I don't like it at all.
So why don't you start with why you don't think it would matter?
Well, so let's go a little more big picture. Okay. I don't think it would matter. Like, the shift is going digital. So and this will tie into that. So I was on the Motley Fool, which I think is a real financial website. So this is like,
is it
real stuff? It doesn't sound like an official.
It doesn't
name.
sound like it.
No, but they were talking about how for GameStop their collectible business, like all the knick-knacky shit that I hate, like that a lot of that. They grew sales substantially.
So I think they bought out ThinkGeek.
Yes.
Which is like helped expand that.
Right. So, and probably because ThinkGeek does a lot of online sales of collectible stuff, so that probably helped kind of like buoy the overall thing, right?
And it gave them a brick and mortar store.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So, but the other thing was the popularity of the Nintendo Switch. So their console sales were way up, but like the thing that makes GameStop is the used game thing, right? and those sales were way down. New and used game sales were down. So they're selling hardware and they're selling knickknacks, but they're not really selling games anymore. And I think part of that, like, if GameStop doesn't sell used games, it's not like it loses its unique selling proposition, if we're going to be all businessy,
and we are,
that made it unique in the marketplace. Because
True.
I think more people are buying digitally, and I think Amazon got into the used game business. Walmart, like all these other retailers jumped in and kind of started nibbling at the feast that GameStop used to sit at the table with by itself. Damn, that was a metaphor I worked hard to get to.
Wow, dude.
You know what I mean?
I don't even think you looked at your notes once.
No.
That's pretty good.
Thanks.
Well, okay. So
I think
you're right that they got to this point, right? So there used to be EB Games, there used to be Babbage's, there were other chains that GameStop bought all those up.
And I think they still own EB in Canada or something like that. I was reading an article and it said it owns GameStop, EB, ThinkGeek. There's like 4 or 5 different companies that are sort of in that umbrella of GameStop, yeah.
Do they still call it EB in Canada?
I want to say so. I think so. That was my first experience with like GameStop, was Electronics Boutique in Canada, in Vancouver. Like,
really?
Yeah, my brother lived up there for a little while, and I didn't go, but like my parents would go, and they're like, they have this really neat game store. We'll bring you one back. And so EB was like this like mecca that was far off that I just imagined in my mind that video games came back to me when my parents went to visit my brother. Like that was my first experience with it.
Man, how far your vision of them has fallen.
I know. And then we got an EB in our hometown, and then it converted to GameStop and all that stuff. But I think
I
there
hated
are
the EB in our hometown.
there are EBs that still exist, but they're in the
did
GameStop
not like
umbrella.
EB.
Yeah.
I hated
Why
it.
not? I liked it way better before it was GameStop.
No way. You did.
It was hoity-toity and douchey. I loved it.
It was all that. Dude, we're throwing back to your nostalgia now. This is like a throwback to your nostalgia games and how I talked about you always over-glorify. You and I used to sit around and bitch about EB Games and dream of a GameStop.
Did we?
Yes, we did. And when we moved to Las Cruces, where they had one,
Yeah.
we switched because we were like, fuck EB.
Really?
Those guys are, because they were pushy. They always did the pre-order thing.
Oh, yeah.
They've kind of merged.
And then GameStop
now.
was cool for a little while, and then
They were so
And then they
chill.
went through like a phase where I guess I guess they call it like the circle of life thing. They went through a phase where they pushed like used stuff and used they were like douchebags and aggressive about it. And then they kind of backed off on that.
But at least here, from my experience, anecdotally in 2 cities, EB was like really pushy and always being like, "Did you pre-order it?
Yeah.
Oh, we don't have it for you." I tried to pre-order Blue Dragon on 360 at an EB Games in the mall here or in Cruces.
Yeah.
And the guy argued with me on why that was a stupid game to buy.
Yeah.
That wasn't GameStop. That was EB.
Okay.
And then GameStop bought them, and we were like, "Oh, this is gonna be awesome," because GameStop was the chill place and they were so cool.
Yeah.
And then they kind of became douchey, and now I don't know where they're at.
They're
Somewhere in the
irrelevant,
middle.
largely, is the point we're coming to.
I guess.
I think they are. Like, I mean, like, really, like, I think their sales show it. Like, our first episode was about GameStop,
Yeah, it was.
and, like, what, 2 years ago? Year and a half ago?
2 years ago.
100 weeks ago. Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 years ago. And even since then, it's, like, changed. Like, their sales have just continued to steadily decline.
They are declining. They're not operating at a loss in the sense of, like, they're not making a profit. But their sales have gone down.
Yeah, well, and the thing that makes GameStop unique in the marketplace has kind of disappeared. Like a lot of that same knick-knacky shit you can find at places like Best Buy or anywhere else. Like they're now a place where you go buy consoles and knickknacks, and they're not really like a game store anymore.
Okay, I don't agree.
Okay,
but here's one of the things, and I know that I don't have any data to support this. I tried to like look some of this up and had trouble, so I'm gonna have to just speak from like my own experience here. So I was at it's story time.
Okay.
I was looking for Fire Emblem Warriors used because I had the GameStop Platinum member or whatever, and you get a huge discount. I had just gotten a Switch. I was super excited to buy games, but I was only buying them used. There was one in town here in Albuquerque, and not the best part of town. So I drove there to get it. Normally I wouldn't go to this part of town. That's just being honest, but whatever. It's a little bit of a rough area.
No, dude, not in New Mexico. Everywhere's high income.
Well, some people in these parts call it the war zone. So whatever.
Oh, sure. Okay, the war zone. yeah.
I don't know. There was no war going when I went to
Look
GameStop.
it up if you're interested in crime.
Anyway, so we go in there. Everyone was cool, but there was some families. There was a family buying an Xbox 360, a used Xbox 360 for like I don't know, $60, right?
Right.
This kid was like, it was like Christmas. Like, he was like thanking his dad over and over. He's like, thanks, Dad, this is amazing. Oh my God.
Right.
And like, I'm over here like being not a cheap ass, but like I have my brand new Switch.
Yeah.
And I don't even have that much money, but like, so what I'm trying to get at is like, I felt kind of bad for them, but also like glad that they had something, right? This guy came into a little bit of money for him, was able to buy his kid a 360.
Yeah, that's very
had a place where he could buy like a really cheap console.
Yeah.
That kid has a plethora of games that he can buy for $5, right?
Yeah.
As a poor kid growing up, like I can appreciate
Right.
what that means because I was typically a generation behind growing up.
Well, that is a cool story, and I don't think that there's still going to be used game stores. I think GameStop as a hub is going away.
So we have places here in Albuquerque like Gamers Anonymous. There's a ton of places, and they're cool indie. That kid could have gone to
game
those
stores.
places.
Yeah.
But in the smaller towns like Hobbs, Farmington, Farmington doesn't have anything else.
Right.
Our hometown, if GameStop disappeared, there'd be nothing.
Right. Yeah, except the
And those are,
internet
like,
exists.
smaller-
Like you could still buy a
But these
360 on
people-
like eBay or whatever.
I know that this isn't the majority, but in New Mexico, right, there's these remote locations.
Yeah.
There's these people coming off like the Indian reservations who don't have internet.
True.
So like, I think some of those groups, and that's a small amount of people, are going to kind of get marginalized. Like they're not going to have, they're not
As
gonna,
gamers.
As gamers.
Yeah.
Like that, and I feel for them because, I mean, I at least had the advantage of when I was a kid. I didn't move to New Mexico until I was like 10. So I was in Phoenix.
Yeah.
So I did have like retro indie stores.
That is an interesting point. Like when Xbox One was coming out, I hadn't thought about it that way. When Xbox One was coming out, though, you remember, and they were like, well, what about people that don't have internet connections? Right. And they were like who? And the example they used was like people in submarines. I was like, that's your example? There are people in the United States who like what you're saying. Like they want to buy a game system for their kids, but they come from poverty, and they might not have the internet and stuff like there's a lot of other very more real down to earth examples than people on submarines.
Right. I know I heard soldiers in Iraq and
which
stuff,
is another good
true.
point. Yeah.
So, I'm not as concerned I'm more concerned about poor families in the US or maybe in like outside in Mexico or wherever, other countries where they I don't know that GameStop is going to be an issue there. So I'm thinking more here.
Right.
I mean, now we live in New Mexico, so I've seen more examples of it.
Yeah.
But I am kind of concerned about what that does to the poorer people.
So I think the conversation though goes beyond GameStop, because that was one of the other points I had in my notes, is because we are seeing this shift to where everything is online and get the games as service, and even games that aren't games as service have like these massive patches and updates, and they're designed to have like this legacy content that goes on for a year after the release of the game, and like that's where everything is going anyway. So
yeah, that's true.
I think you're gonna see like pawn shops in situations where like you can still go get a 360 and play on offline games and stuff, but
you're gonna have to, right?
Yeah,
if GameStop disappeared tomorrow, just like kind of what I'm thinking, like one, I think the market would naturally cover some of those gaps, right?
Yeah.
But I think some of those families that I'm talking about they're a lot of them are like unbanked, like just talking from like a socioeconomic, right? So they're not going to be as comfortable going on Amazon. You can buy stuff used, but they just aren't as comfortable doing that, or I don't even know how like delivering stuff works as well out on the reservation and things like that, right? It's pretty remote.
Yeah.
I don't know how well that goes for them. I just think that it would hurt people like that. I think pawn shops would boom.
Yeah.
I think they would probably cover a lot of the gap.
Yeah.
I think indie shops like what we have here, like Gamers Anonymous and some of the other ones, would probably do great, right? I mean, and maybe you'd see more of an opening up, right? Maybe you would see it go back to places like Babbage's or other people that would jump in.
I do think so. Even people who come from poverty, most people have cell phones, and I think that's where you're gonna like the quality of game going to mobile. I think everything's going online or to mobile, and I think
that's true.
Like I don't think a GameStop existing or pawn shop selling used stuff, except for the people who, that's what they have access to, or that's what they want to do because they want to play older stuff or whatever. Like
but sometimes you get those things because it's what your parents understand,
right?
Like those kids, maybe
it was the parent buying the console for it and stuff.
And
so
he gets a traditional. Oh, it's an Xbox. You put the disc in it, you play it.
Yeah.
And whatever. You're right, and I think admittedly this would be a pretty small group that would get screwed.
Yeah.
But I think there is a group out there
that
would get screwed.
I think so too. Yeah, I agree with that. I hadn't thought of it from that angle, But I think that is like, yeah, I mean, that is interesting. But I think that's where gaming is going, and I don't think anyone can stop it, regardless. You know what I mean?
I think that's true, and like some of this is speculative in the sense that like we don't know at this point what the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Zero,
right?
Because they count backwards now, right?
Yeah,
3,
definitely.
1, 0. Maybe it'll be the 2.
Yeah,
whatever it is. The next
the Xbox flatline. Zing.
That's
that was solid.
That was mean. That was cruel. Dude, I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, so
the Xbox deathbed.
When the Xbox One was first announced, they were gonna do like a really cool. I thought it was super cool, the digital library thing. You're gonna be able to digitally share games with your friends,
right?
And people, and I know that this is a microphone, but I can say what I want. I think people were too stupid to understand what was going on because they were like, "Oh, I can't lend my discs to my friends."
Yeah,
and obviously,
and there's still a weird minority that's like, if I can't buy it on physical disc, like F that publisher or whatever. And it's like, really, dude? Like,
well, you can still buy it on disc though.
Yeah,
so the way the Xbox One was going to work was
put
the disc in.
I think that's the cusp we're on. It's not just GameStop, but I think discs. I think we're close to discs going away.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, the collectors are going to be pissed about that.
Right.
But what I was annoyed by was the like, well, I can't lend my buddy my disc, and I can't. Maybe it's teenagers or something, because I can't remember the last time.
Right.
I was like, can I borrow your copy of so I can beat it? Like,
I've even thought about, like, because you have all the Final Fantasies, and we've talked before about how I should give JRPGs a fair shot. I'm like, maybe I should just borrow. Like, he has Final Fantasy 15 on disc. I should just ask to borrow it. And then I'm like, man, that sounds like a lot of work. And then I got to put the disc in, and then I got to do the update file. Jeez Louise. I
know, I've tried to lend it to you. I tried to hand it to you, and you're all, maybe next time.
I think that it's not just that I hate GameStop, which I do, but I really am. I like the digital library thing.
I do too.
And speaking of Xbox, though, there were a couple articles and YouTubers talking about how it's looking like Xbox's next generation step is they're trying to become sort of that. I think the phrasing I saw was the Netflix of games, where they're really trying to push down onto that, like owning lots of studios that put out titles that go straight into digital distribution, but not just a store, like, but you would pay for a streaming service like Netflix. Like, when we talked about this months ago in our streaming episode, but that is the future. That is where we're going. And for the types of situations you're talking about, the answer is not to hold on to old technology or hold distribution channels for old technology. The answer is the United States needs better infrastructure for the internet so that we have equal access across the country.
Right. And I think that's ultimately what we'll get, where we will get, that's certainly the direction we're going. Yeah. And we had remember our episode about like how we're actually not that high rated.
Yeah.
We're like 10 or 11. Like there's quite a few other countries ahead of us.
Yeah, in terms of quality of internet access by country. Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously we need that anyway.
Right.
And so I agree. I think ultimately that's the way it'll go. And I think unless GameStop reinvents and comes up with something else, they will die.
Right.
I mean, they have to.
Yeah.
Right? Because if we get away from physical copies and physical sales.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, or maybe they'll just keep calling themselves GameStop and become
a knick-knack store.
Yeah.
That's kind of what they are. Like, the writing is on the wall. Like, in my opinion, it's kind of done.
Dude.
Like, they're a place to go get consoles while we still need consoles, because that's where it's going, is where you need a controller and maybe like a little like Apple TV-esque streaming box, and you pay for like streaming memberships, and you know maybe you have like an EA thing or whatever, God help you, and you have like the way you would have Hulu and Netflix and those kinds of things. That is where it's going. That's where it's going.
That's so like a Wall-E future where everyone just sits in their chairs and doesn't get up, and
that's what we're doing now.
But I don't like it. I like being able to go to a store and like have the brick and mortar experience. My kids like love going to GameStop.
Well, you'll still be able to take them to buy knickknacks.
Is that good enough though? I mean,
so the other thing too, it like the shift to the online service thing. I think it's not just the access to the internet and the connection and the constantly updating and those kinds of things. Part of what made GameStop cool and what made used games like a thing that people wanted was playing a large volume of games that you play start to finish one time.
Yeah.
And then you can go trade it in and get more. The same way you go to a used bookstore and trade in a bunch of old books and then you pick up a new little collection. And that is not the nature of games either anymore. You know what I mean?
That's true.
It is this thing that people want to play fewer games of higher quality forever, which is like we've talked about this. It's an absurd request from a developer, and for $60 there has to be some give and take of playing something forever. But I think that whole shift, dude, is making used games in general more and more irrelevant, which is a little bit sad because there were some great games in the past.
Yeah, I agree. But let me just maybe finish by saying, if the next generation comes out and they're like all digital, and there's this huge outcry of not being able to borrow games, and we're gonna do that like while condemning GameStop, it's like talking out of both sides of our mouth, right? We're like, we're like, when the Xbox One generation launched, that's what I was trying to get to. Like, people were pissed about the idea of being locked digitally.
Right.
At the same time, they decry GameStop and talk about the villainy and the tyrant, right? Yeah. You can't have it both ways. Mm-hmm. You either need to embrace the fact of and the nature of digital libraries and licensing and let GameStop die.
But I think even the way we have digital libraries is going away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably true.
Paying $60 for a license for one game, that's going to go away. It's going to be $9.99 for a Netflix subscription, and you get access to these games.
Oh, God.
That's where it's going.
You think?
Absolutely. I would bet my firstborn child. No, I'm just kidding. I would put some money on it.
Your daddy loves you.
Daddy loves you.
I'm not ready for that.
It's okay, Robbie. I'll hold you.
I'm not ready.
Thank you for listening to Save Every Universe. If you enjoyed this episode, please share us with a friend. We grow through you sharing episodes that you enjoy, and we love you so much for listening. Thank you very much. If you'd like to support us financially, you can do so at patreon.com/Save Every Universe. That will go directly toward improving our production quality, panels of buttons that make sound effects, etc., and possibly taking Tony to dinner and getting him drunk. Just kidding. That money comes from somewhere else. That comes from my child's college fund. Daddy loves you.
That's right. And I believe last week Tony issued a challenge that I guess we will honor.
Yeah.
That if we get $50 worth of pledges, if we get an increase of $50 worth of pledges
at Patreon.
At patreon.com/Save Every Universe.
Yeah.
We will live stream us, both of us, not just me.
We are horrified of horror games.
We will do,
but we are even more horrified of VR horror games. So we will do the horror game of your choice for your viewing pleasure.
Yeah, and our displeasure.
Yes.
Extreme displeasure.
Extreme displeasure. Name of my sex tape.